All right. Well, thanks for taking the time and being with us tonight. I want to respect everybody's time and get everybody back outside, enjoying the good weather. And thank you for taking the time. Tonight's really an important conversation for us, I think, because the project is so wonderful. And tonight we've got two guests. Before we go into the project and our guests, I do want to kind of continue our tradition of just sharing a couple of things that we're celebrating, things that have happened over the past week or so, things that are on our mind that we want to share. It could be lessons we've learned or big aha moments as well. And as we're doing that, we also got Ben Bazak hopping on, Joy's coming in, and so we'll just roll right into it. So we'll start in the room. Anything you want to share?
Oh, am I first?
Well, we don't, and not everybody has to go. I just wanted to at least make it open.
I don't know. I am still kind of absorbing everything that I got out of the Little River Poetry Festival about a week and a half ago up in Floyd, and I feel like I've kind of been thrust back into like regular life, and I'm feeling very overwhelmed by my phone. Just like messages, I'm like, oh God, I have to call this person, I have to call this person back, I have to call this person, I have to send this email, I have to do that. And it's like, no, I don't. I have to go outside. I have to like do art, like fulfilling art stuff. So trying to keep kind of like that balance that I got while I was out there.
Right.
It's challenging, but
Right. Even 20 minutes
yeah,
can do something huge for us.
even like 5.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jane, you have anything you want to share?
Just for me, it's a big production week getting ready for Juneteenth. It's at Eureka Park on Saturday from 12 to 5, and I hope you all will come and join in the festivities.
Excellent. Yeah, I think you'll see a lot of us there. Right. Anybody online got anything to share?
I got my gigantic sign done.
Excellent. So is it still in your house or is it on the streets of Rocky Mount?
It's on my porch, so I'm gonna go out there and walk around and show you. Let's see. Okay, so about 5 feet tall. So that's
Excellent.
what. Thanks, and it's the same on both sides. So it's just sun's really bright, but yep.
Do they know what they have? Do they know what they have in store for them, or is it a big surprise?
Oh, they know. I sent them a picture, so I'll probably take it up there tomorrow.
Great. Well, congratulations. We were just talking a minute ago about how we go from one project to the next project to the next project sometimes, and don't pause enough to celebrate the things that we've accomplished. So make sure you celebrate that, because I know you spent a lot of hours on that.
Thanks.
Anybody else?
What are we sharing? Is that our particular question, or is it just like?
Yeah, it's our, I mean, we only have to do a few, but it's, the lessons learned, what we always do, lessons learned, anything you're celebrating from the past week, just kind of catching us up. Yeah. Well, I'll share one, and I got to spend some time with Ben Bazak on or have we shared that already? When was that? Monday and Tuesday we got to go to Danville, where the city got actually the city's economic development department got an award for the arts and economic development strategy around community development, which just shows that economic development is really starting to pay attention to the community development side of things. Yeah. All right. Well, we'll reach back out here at the end of the session and grab some more things as we're wrapping up as well. So I'd like to.
Hey, Doug.
Yeah.
We were touring that Dan River Mills as part of that. And that's the whole time I just kept thinking that was just one big white canvas.
Oh my gosh, that would be a huge mural. Are you thinking of muralization of that property?
Well, just anything. I mean, some of the rooms that they were building that had the pillars that are actually part of the rooms, the sort of mushroom kind of shaped pillars or whatever. I don't know how you describe them, but just saw everything was just so white. You know, it just when it's all enclosed, I could just see all sorts of tile work and yeah.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Well, I think what that makes me think of art space and the work that we're doing over at Riverdale. And I believe that art space went to Danville at one point, but I'm not sure. They didn't find a property or they didn't make a deal happen. But yeah, hopefully they'll involve some artists kind of in that project as well. Yeah. Do know that's on their mind. Diana Schwartz asked me last year, she said that she's really interested in starting to work with artists, but she doesn't quite know how to do it. So I said, oh, I bet we've got some people who'd be happy to talk, some artists who'd be happy to talk to you about that. You know, that kind of organizing and working with the city. Well, great. We've got two guests and the project, and I'm gonna really, what we'll do is we'll start with Judge Ferguson. And Judge Ferguson is going to give us a little bit of background about the project, how they first imagined it, and how the idea came to being. And then we'll talk with Heather. It was kind of a little bit of a matchmaking process in figuring out what our funds were. And I'm reflecting back, and we were not as, we are very creatively using our percent for art funds and applying for the National Endowment for the Arts grants. And that is relatively new in the community. And so we were just figuring things out then, and we had the grant opportunity and we're able to make things match. But we'll start with Judge Ferguson, and then we'll move over to Heather Marshall. And Heather's in the car coming back from Blacksburg, where there was very important soccer activity. And then what we'll do is go back to Judge Ferguson and hear about the response to the project and what they hope the next steps might be. And with that, I'll turn it over to Judge Ferguson.
Thank you so much. And thank you all for having me as a guest tonight. The project that Doug is referring to is our courthouse had not been renovated since it was built. Back in the 80s, I believe. And so about 3.5 years ago, well, it was longer than that, but we were finally awarded money to do renovations in the juvenile court, which is the court, one of the court I sit in, me and 3 other judges in the city. And as part of that, it was actually Judge Rogers, Frank Rogers, who thought it would be important to make our lobby of the juvenile court a lot more inviting and a lot more reflective of the community that we serve in the juvenile court. And so he worked with Doug and Heather Marshall, and Heather really spearheaded this project, which from my perspective had 2 big parts. One big part was, as part of the renovations, we finally were adding a children's room to the juvenile court lobby. A place where kids who come with their families, have a place to actually play and be interactive, and it just be kids. It used to be that they were just sitting out in this very drab, very institutionalized looking lobby. And so the first piece of the project was Heather and her group designed and did a mural in the children's room that reflects nature that you would find here in the Blue Ridge area. It has animals, it has plants, and it is absolutely gorgeous. And it makes that room really come to life. And so that was kind of one big piece of the art and the renovations. The second piece was that lobby space for anyone who's been in the juvenile court is pretty open, and the art that was on the walls was very dated. It was a lot of kind of stodgy old white people, and again, not very reflective of the community that we serve. And so again, with Heather leading the project, she worked with youth in the Roanoke Valley, from private school, public school, homeschool, children from the detention center. And they created some absolutely amazing pieces of art that now hang throughout our juvenile court lobby. And if you haven't had a chance or been in the courthouse, you really should just come and see it, because it has been really just such a change for that space, and making it much more, I mean, I know it's court, but much more inviting. Court is already pretty scary and intimidating and stress inducing for most people anyway. And so to have these amazing pieces of art done by the young people of the community, really, it's indescribable. And so we have just been so pleased and thrilled with all of those. And it really has changed the whole dynamic as far as I'm concerned of the courthouse. The response has been overwhelmingly positive, so much so that I've featured it in some presentations that I've given. There are a number of people that have kind of asked, how did you all get started? And they want to kind of replicate those same ideas in their courthouses. And I actually just recently talked to a judge that has made this his mission in his courthouse as well, is to get youth artwork up in the lobby. And he was very moved by the work that had been done in our lobby. I know there was some feedback on Facebook about the mural from the Wildlife Center here in Southwestern Virginia. Again, just talking about how beautiful it was and how reflective of the nature that we see. Again, I could go on and on for hours, but we just were thrilled with all of the work. And again, because it's a juvenile and domestic relations court, it serves young people and their families. And again, to have the young artists featured, I know was special for them as well.
Great, thanks, Judge. What we'll do now is go to Heather Marshall and hear about how she pulled together the project and designed it, what the design looked like. And then we'll kind of circle back and have kind of a full discussion, and ask questions and such. So, Heather Marshall, are you able to hop on?
Yeah, absolutely. And hello, Judge Ferguson. I haven't
Hi,
seen you in a
Heather.
while. It's nice to hear your voice. Hi.
You too.
And thank you so much for all of the wonderful feedback on the project. It makes me really proud to hear that. I don't know if you were on her yet. I was sharing that I had thought about the project in a while, so it was really fun to reflect today, and it makes me feel really proud to hear some of the comments you shared. So I appreciate knowing that. Basically, when I started this project, I was also kind of simultaneously leaving teaching after 12 years. So it was kind of interesting timing for me. I met with Judge Ferguson, and I had a lot of support from Doug as far as how to budget and how to plan, how to get resources. And spent a lot of time before the summer of, I guess, 2023, planning and putting things in place. And so I called it a youth artist workshop, and I really tried to promote and spread the word about it. I wanted to attract kids from kind of late middle school to high school in the area who are members of the city, who are really interested in art making. And I didn't necessarily want it to be just one specific lesson. But after talking with Judge Ferguson about what the mission was, what the vision was, I felt it was really important to get students involved on a personal level with the artwork. So I wanted them to come to a series of workshops where they could develop ideas, and that I could help them see those ideas through to a finished, high quality piece of artwork. So that was really my goal that I developed along the way, working with Judge Ferguson and Doug. Um, I had this space, oh my gosh, Fishburne Mansion. So the Parks and Rec was really, really wonderful and donated that space to me. It had a sink, it had tables that I could use, it had a place where I could store the work. And I established, one Saturday a week over a series of 8 weeks or so that the kids would come and spend a 6-hour day working on their artwork. So that was the way that we were able to accomplish, really bring their ideas to fruition. When I went to the, I'm sorry, I'm saying a lot. I'm also driving, so you have to excuse me. When I went to the Pointer Spring, that was probably one of the most special experiences that I had during the project. The staff there was amazing. The kids really participated fully in the lesson. I just couldn't have asked for it to go more wonderfully. And several of them actually asked to come back after their break period and finish their project, which meant a lot to me because they could have said they weren't interested anymore and gone out on about their day. So it was just very special to me, and they were excited to know that their artwork and their contribution and their input would be displayed in the courthouse. They all had big smiles knowing that was going to happen. I guess the last part was installing the work, figuring out what's going to look good when you hang it, working with the lighting. We went through the process of talking about how to install the work. And then the last part was the mural. Children's room. I had spent a lot of time trying to figure out how to create a peaceful type to children and families that are coming to court with my family, and just noticed how very green it was. Everything was blooming, it was spring, and the green was very calming. So I decided to come up with a wildlife scene. I used a lot of pictures from the Southwest Virginia Wildlife Instagram site, which I love to follow, and created the mural and made sure it had a lot of green in it because that was so calming. And I was very pleased with how it came out. I had student volunteers come in and help me paint it, and I did the finishing layers. Then we had a reception where everybody was recognized. The kids who were able to come out for that felt it was very important. I know they enjoyed themselves a lot. And it was a wonderful project. So that's kind of the synopsis from beginning to end. Doug, at this point, are there specific steps for developing the project that you want me to get into in more detail?
Well, let's talk now. And so the work, and I'm showing some of the kind of overall images. So each of the young people worked on a piece, and the way it's installed there, it just feels cohesive in the room. And there are themes that are echoed in each other's work. Do you want to talk a little bit about how you worked with the young people that way?
Well, yes. There were some parameters that I are working on everything in the same studio space. There were connections, just somebody like it. So I think, and then of course, as someone who's leading the project, it was my goal to measure. I think before we started, I had measured and visualized the size of the pieces that we would need to look good in the space. So I had pre-purchased these large canvases and small canvases and paper and all the different sizes that we needed, and then asked them to choose what size they thought they want to carry their idea out in. We would talk about medium. it was a very individualized teaching process working with them, which is what I wanted it to be. Like, to me, that was much more about an artistic studio process than just coming in and getting a lesson about shading or something like that, you know? So,
Mhm.
yeah, so we talked a lot about themes. We talked about connections because we were all working in the same space. And that was very intentional. And I was really pleased with how it came together. It's unreal how you can take all these separate people with all these different perspectives and really different ideas, and just throughout time and working together, these connections develop. It's really lovely. Everybody became friends too, which was fun.
Oh, great. Yeah. And there's something about working on a project that you know is going to be put on public display, and that people are going to experience it. Did that resonate with them, Heather?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's a big deal to a lot of the kids that their work is up there, that they participate in it, and it's going to be lasting. It's going to be there forever. They're thrilled. At the reception, they got to come down with their families. And also, I did notice when I was there painting the mural, people don't have their phones or anything in the courthouse. So they really interact with the artwork a lot. I mean, they don't have much else to distract them. And people they were looking at it, observing it. I saw them getting close to it, backing away from it. And we had also put up descriptions of what the kids did and their intention, because it was important to me that people knew that, you know, what the kid was going for in the work, you know, their ideas.
Mhm.
Sorry. So, yeah. Oh gosh, where did I start? Sometimes I get off on a tangent.
No, that was great.
Redirect me. Yeah.
Yeah, you answered the question. So then
Okay.
all of this work is now part of the public art collection.
Awesome.
And so
Yeah.
that's on permanent display.
Awesome.
And but then you think, oh, well, what are the other opportunities? So Heather thought, oh, there are other opportunities. And Heather, do you want to talk about what you had envisioned as the next step?
Well, yeah. So the idea was that you could continue something like this going in the community where and by the way, this was free. So that was one of the things. It didn't exclude anyone based on cost. All the materials were free. Everything was free for the participants. So it didn't matter what resources you did or didn't have to do some art, come and do it. So anyway, to continue in that spirit where you're just being all inclusive, you're creating an opportunity for anyone and everyone who wants to come and participate to do it. And then really based on my experience with working with the kids up at Pointer Springs, there's just such wonderful opportunity to use visual art as a way to help people, you know, deal with some of the things that might be more personal and difficult through art. You have to be really careful sometimes not to skirt into art therapy when you're doing artwork with kids, because you're not an art therapist, you're just making a project, but all that self-expression is involved. Anyhow, so in order to keep that going along, and we can have an individual show where you have portable walls that you set up. And we used to do this at the high school. You set up some portable walls. You have some workshops that could be done in, you know, maybe 4 hours, and you plan for a beginning to end project. So you would have to have some portions of the project that are nuts and bolts with a little bit of room in there for interpretation and flexibility so people can, you know, express themselves. But anyway, and then take a collection of that work and put it up at the end of every January. And I chose January because I was looking at other events at different times of year, like prom and graduation or homecoming or things like this. Or, you know, when the schools have their art shows. So there's not really a whole lot going on at the end of January. So it would be a good time for people to not be distracted out, the family of the kids who participate, things like that. And then the idea was to really, really make it accessible to kids who are going through the juvenile and domestic court system, because that is just so hard, the things that a lot of families are going through when they're there. And so for some of the kids that would benefit from a creative outlet, again, especially because it's free, that they could kind of streamline kids that would like to participate into the lesson. And my idea was that, you could incorporate other teaching artists to come up with different ideas, and maybe have 8 sessions a year or 6 sessions a year. So it's manageable, because it is a good bit of work and coordination. And then, put up a yearly show. And to be able to do that annually and keep it going as a program, I think would be an amazing thing. And it's something that I really wanted to do, but I had to be realistic about the time commitments that I have. I'm just in a phase of life where I don't have a lot of time to give, or the time that, I thought I would have. But I would love for somebody to, who is really interested in continuing to develop it, to do so, because I do think it's a wonderful and unique opportunity to develop something effective and all inclusive and just really special. I don't know. So.
Yeah, thank you very much, Heather. And let me circle
Yeah.
back to Judge Ferguson and see, Judge, if you have any other comments you want to add in after Heather's.
The only thing I guess I would kind of add is, I have a team, a small committee, and one of the things we had talked about was this annual art show. And of course, I reached back out to Doug immediately, because of all the work and the amazing work that was done as part of the art project that's in the lobby. And of course, that was how I hooked back up with Heather Marshall. And what I would say is the vision that we had from the court perspective was exactly what Heather just said. But the idea that these would be court-involved youth, and that these workshops could be done at various places in the city, that way transportation would not be an issue. So maybe we could borrow the West End Center on a Saturday. And my committee is not particularly, we're all more of the, I can't remember if it's left brain or right brain, but we are not creative or artistic. But we are great volunteers. And so what I had said is we would be happy to come out, and be at each of these events to help, if it's washing brushes, or if it's coaching a young person, or even just talking to a young person as they're doing this work, or to encourage them. Whatever you all would need, we certainly want to be of assistance for that. And then again, the idea would be that this annual art show would be a reflection of these young people each year, and that we would have that at the courthouse, and would have a kind of an art show, an open house, much like we did to celebrate the artists that did the work in the lobby. And so there is one other jurisdiction in Virginia that does this as well. And again, just really positive feedback that judge has gotten, and that the youth and the families have all said. So I think it's a wonderful way for these kind of teens, preteens, to express themselves. And in an effort to engage youth in the court process, I will say as a judge, we have started accepting coloring sheets and things like that, even in our court cases, as a way for young people to express themselves to the judges. So I think it all ties in very nicely. I mean, obviously what we're getting in court is pretty simplistic compared to kind of what we're talking about at this level. But I do think it would be meaningful. And again, I stand at the ready to help in any way that I can.
I do want to add, oh, sorry, Doug. I just want to emphasize who's interested out there. I had a ton of support. Doug was always there, always supportive. Judge Ferguson was. They were wonderful. I just cannot, I couldn't have had better support. So I just want to add that in there.
Well, and I was just blown away by it. And you know, I stopped by maybe a couple of times at Fishburne Mansion and saw progress, and it was just such a great energy and vibe there. And then of course seeing it come together. And and of course, one person who was there at the dedication, of course, was Helen Dean. And if Helen Dean was on all of these calls, Judge Ferguson, and loved the work of the artist and was such an advocate. Anytime we could do something for young people in the community, she'd say, we've got to do this. We've got to do this. So, you know, we've got to do this. I will say, and we've got the resources to do it. And our Percent for Art Fund, this is public art that, you know, we're gonna put it on public display. And so we can hire an artist, we can hire artists. We've got a terrific partner in the committee. I think we just have to figure out how we're going to organize to do it. And so we're interested, and I'd like to ask people to contact me after the meeting. If you're interested in doing this, we'll share this. I know I got several emails from people today who said, oh, I'm really interested in learning more about this, and I'll watch it afterwards. So people will watch the video. We'll have it posted online. Judge Ferguson, can you share what other jurisdiction it is? Because I'm a big believer in reaching out and asking questions and learning from each other. Yeah.
Sure, it's Chesterfield County, and Scott Landry is the judge, and I'm certainly happy to provide his contact information to you.
Okay.
He has done this for, I think, several years, and I actually, Doug, I will send you an email. His secretary just emailed us the most recent, like, photos from the most recent art show they did. And so I'll forward that email to you tomorrow. But yes, that's the other jurisdiction.
Terrific, thank you. Well, and let me see if any of the artists have any questions or comments.
Just because it was breaking up a little bit, I didn't understand what Corner Springs had to do.
Well, I'll let Heather, could you hear the question?
Oh, yeah. So the kids who are incarcerated at Courthouse Springs, they go through the domestic court. So they because this project is about the youth and the juvenile and domestic court, and they go through there when they get in trouble and are placed there. I thought it was important to go there and do some artwork with them for this project. So that was an experience that I enjoyed greatly, I think, as far as teaching and working with the kids throughout the summer. It was a really meaningful time to me. Does that answer your question, how it relates to the artwork in the courthouse and the youth?
It does, thank you.
Okay,
Heather,
sure. Thank you.
Hey, Heather, I think this is really cool what you were able to do. Did you find that when you went into Corner Springs that the students were open and willing and ready to get, you know, engaged with the artwork? Was there any hesitancy, or did you have to pull it out of them, or were they just ready to go?
No, I felt like that they were really ready. I mean, I spent a lot of time, I had been teaching for about 12 years, so I went in with a plan. You know, my plan was to make sure that they would buy in fairly quickly, you know?
Okay.
So I got the buy-in fairly quickly. You know, they came in, they sat, you know, but it's so very structured. I mean, there were 3 guards there. They're not allowed to sit next to each other. There were a number of materials I wasn't allowed to use. They have to hand 1 pencil each to them. I mean, there's really not a lot of room for any shenanigans or stubbornness. And only certain kids were allowed to even come And then, yeah, I mean, so we got into the work and yeah, they were very open. It was wonderful. And I think, you know, they felt safe. They could let their hair down, but they were also pretty honest and transparent. So
Okay.
I had asked them, like, we all drew a circle and we talked about the inside of the circle and the outside of the circle. And we talked about our interior experience and exterior experience. And so I was asking them to think about drawing things about how they really felt on the inside the circle, and putting the things that were exterior on the outside, like how people perceive them, despite the fact that they might be feeling vulnerable inside. You know what I mean? So from there, they were invested. They were invested in really expressing themselves, and that's what was cool about it. Because I know they've been through some very hard stuff. They have not seen the greatest of life.
Thank you, thank you.
Sure.
Any other questions? And I think Heather's comment about her teaching experience is really important as well. And, you know, one way to approach this too is to do it as a team as well, where there's somebody with, you know, everybody has different skills. And so if we consider that, there might be, you know, there might be somebody who is really, really interested in this work and just hasn't done as much of it before, but we can partner a more experienced artist with that person, you know, with a person perhaps. But yeah, I think there's a design process we've got to do, and kind of have to do it fairly quickly in a way to get ready for like a fall process if we want to have a January show. But you know what happens when it's the right project, things just fall into line. And that's probably what's going to happen with this, I'm thinking. And we'll have to look at the temporary display, how that works, and how that'll best, you know, work in the courthouse, as well. So we kind of that process. Yeah. Any other comments or questions?
If I
Judge
could just
Ferguson,
add,
anything?
well, I was gonna say, I'm just gonna add one quick, and it's a small point, but one of the things that my committee had also talked about was when and if this project is ready, and we want to do, you all or whoever's leading it wants to do a flyer or wants us to do a flyer, we can start making sure that those get to the youth that are served by our court, so that they're aware of this project, they're aware of the opportunities and the workshops. But certainly we have the means to spread kind of the information and make sure that youth who want to be involved can be involved.
And that brings up a question in my mind. Heather Marshall, were you thinking of it when you were kind of laying it out? Were you thinking it would probably be a mix of different youth coming to different workshops, and then maybe some youth that were working all along without a requirement to attend all of the workshops, and us being able to pull in work representatives?
It was really hard to get a consistent group. I mean, people have a lot of choices of things to do. And then when it's free, people will sign up, but if they haven't paid for it, they don't feel like totally obligated to come. So when I was planning on doing this, the workshops each would have been their own individual thing. Like it would have been 4 hours. I would have done like an hour and a half, like break for lunch, another hour and a half or something like that, you know? So that was my plan for it, because then you can just have people sign up and they can do something start to finish. Or, you know, if you have someone who's especially invested in their work, they could take it home and continue to work on it. You could keep in touch with them, send pictures to critique about it or whatever. There's just so many different options. And then it was my understanding that we were definitely going to be focusing on getting kids that are going through the court involved. And then I had kind of assumed that if there were kids that just are in the community that want to participate, that would be fine as well. You know, just I don't feel like anybody would ever want to exclude anyone. So anyway, but that was my thought on how to do it. And then out of those workshops, you take your most successful pieces and, you know, I don't know, you could do so many things. You could plan an additional session to finish some things off. If the people are invested, again, you could let them take them home. You know, it's really just, you can plan it so many different ways. You could even have an artist that wants to teach a certain process that takes 2 sessions and plan out 2 sessions, you know? But I will say I found that it was hard to get a lot of people to commit. I had a small core group of about, what was it, like 6 or 7 kids. So, so we're not talking, you know, 20 here for what I did, like as far as attendance. So anyway, that's just something to think about. Is the difficulty of getting people to commit on a repeated basis.
Okay. All right, my mind's turning over lots of thoughts. And I'm sure
Yeah.
everybody's on. And,
I
and
have a question, because I might have missed this information, so I apologize, but like, how long of a time period was it and how often did you all meet? Like, was it like once a week or?
So it was for, oh gosh, it's only been a year, but I can't remember. It was either like 8 or 10 sessions over the summer. It was Saturdays only from June to I think late July, and then I think we skipped 4th of July. But I did an all-day studio, so it was 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. And then we did like, I think, what did we do? A 30-minute lunch, something like that. Anyway, so we had a morning session, afternoon session, and to me, the benefit of them being there all day long with me is because we could really work through a lot of problems, you know, visually. Like when you're only spending, you know, an hour or 2 hours with someone, it takes forever to get something finished, you know, so those large chunks of time were important to me with what we were doing. So anyway, so we had like 8 or 10 of those, and then some of them did end up taking stuff home and working on it more, but most of it we got finished. So anyway, but that's what we did, so 8 or 10 sessions. And then I went up to Pointer Springs, so you add that one in there. That I went on site for, so because yeah, I can't come out. So that was my time commitment. But it was a lot. So I dragged my son with me, and my husband was there at times. So it was, you know, but it was fun.
yeah, and if it ends up, I would imagine we'd want to even provide lunch if it was going to end up crossing into the lunchtime. I don't know, 4 hours. 4 hours for me is hard to go without food. And the kids that you worked with were probably able to bring their lunch, but we may want to make sure we don't have anybody who's going hungry. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
So yeah.
Ben.
Hey, Heather, I didn't get a comment that you may have made, I don't know. But in doing this again, were you saying you would like to get more involvement from Pointer Springs? I mean, could you go out more than once? Could it be more?
Yeah,
Could they be?
well, actually, I did enjoy that so much that I was going to go back there for Christmas, and they were happy to have me back because it went really well. But I want to do all these things, but I'm just not in a phase of life where I have the time. So, you know, I'm doing family right now. This is the one window of time. I only have one child. So this is it, you know, and I really, you know, don't want to miss family things that I'm not going to get back, you know, by loading up my schedule. So I had to make some hard decisions in the past year. But yeah, so I would totally go back out there. They were very open to having me. I think they're very receptive to that. I did have to do a background check, and I had to be very persistent to get a response and get in there. So I will say that. So it's not something where the first time you email, you're going to get an email right back saying, come on. It's a process. So, let me see. I don't know. I just give yourself plenty of time if you're going to plan to go out there.
And again, that's something that I can help with because an email that's signed from a judge somehow seems to get things moving.
Yeah. So I think that's eventually what I had to do was I had emailed Judge Rogers and was like, hey, I'm not hearing back. And then I did finally get the connection. So yes.
I mean,
Anyway.
that part of your presentation, I mean, spending as much time as I did working in the school system and knowing students that went in and out of Coiner Springs and kind of in the math area responsible for making sure that they have the work that they're supposed to be doing and all that. The idea that someone could come in there and show them that they value something that they could produce. I don't know. I know the station that a lot of those kids are in when they go there, and how if they can come out of that somehow when they come back to us or to school with just a better outlook on themselves, that's just great.
Yeah, it was really meaningful. I just really had a great time. My heart was like big the whole time. So that was good.
Good. Because
Anyway.
me sending them more algebra problems is not helping them.
Yeah, no, it's a different type of engagement,
It's like double punishment.
Yeah. So, yeah. Anyway, but thank you for your comment.
Well, thank you. If there are no other questions, we'll let Judge Ferguson and, first of all, we'll thank them for the presentation and the project. And the
Yeah,
inspiration.
no, thank you. Yeah, and I just, if anybody, wants to be in touch with me to talk about the project at all, that is fine. Doug can connect you with me. I'm, happy to consult in any way. So, just if you need me.
Thank you. That's a valuable contribution. We appreciate that, Heather. And Judge Ferguson, thank you. And enjoy the rest of that beautiful night behind you.
Thank you. And thank you for having me this evening. It was a pleasure. So I really appreciate this.
Good. Thank you. And we'll be in touch.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
All right.
too.
Bye, Judge. Bye. Thank you
Bye.
as well. Thank you for having me. All right. Bye.
Bye. All right. It's a lot to think about and to piece together, but we can totally do it. It's not rocket science. And it's just really, I don't know, it's important, valuable. It's exactly the kind of work we want to be doing, right? Yeah. All right. Anything else we want to hit on before we wrap up? We know we've got on Saturday, there's a big event happening.
Got a busy day. Me and Jane are gonna be tag teaming some stuff on Saturday, so.
Excellent.
It'll be fun. Fun stuff.
And
Fun
more.
stuff. Juneteenth, so Juneteenth Festival, Eureka Park. If you guys wanna come out, we're gonna have some fun engagement. I know it's gonna be a lot of arts, connect neighbors, entries out there. I'm not sure exactly what, but I know we got a few coming, right?
Well, I think it's really just, we're supporting Bernadette. I never,
Okay.
that said we do that. And
Okay.
She invoiced us.
Okay,
And we're not gonna have the table and the big wheel and all of this time. But I'm gonna head out there at some point today and I'll have a tote bag of
catalogs.
But I wanna come and see all the good stuff that's happening. I'm excited about the parachute because that was my favorite thing. as a
Yeah,
kid.
oh man, elementary school,
What
that
was
was
it about that?
that's like the fondest memory. Monterey Elementary. That was my fondest memory. It's tucking under there.
I know, it was magical somehow under there.
Yeah, so.
Yeah.
And I don't even know if they still do that in school. Do you know if they still do that in elementary
I
school?
haven't heard about it in years, and the cool thing about it was that we all did it together. It wasn't like,
Yeah.
we're gonna play dodgeball today, and half the class is gonna beat the crap out of you.
Yeah. Does anybody know if they still do the parachutes in elementary schools? No? Yeah, I don't know.
And wasn't there a parachute factory here?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's actually in Northwest.
Is it?
It's on,
Is it still,
Loudon?
is it still operating?
yeah, yeah.
Oh, that's
It's
awesome.
on Loudon, like right after you pass 24th Street.
Uh-huh.
If you go
Yeah.
through that light past the trash, the waste processing place.
Yeah, yeah.
You keep straight through there, you keep straight, there's a parachute
Oh,
manufacturing company. It's like an old warehouse. It looks abandoned, but they actually, people work in there.
that's
Yeah,
awesome.
it's in
Oh.
Northwest.
I love those hidden things.
Yeah, so yeah,
That's so random and cool.
yeah. They
Parachute
make
factory,
parachutes.
I wonder if they have ones that are like, flawed that they
Yeah,
can't,
that's exactly.
and then they can
Maybe.
donate them to us and then, or to the
We can
school.
always go check.
Oh my gosh.
I'd like a
Just go knock on the
parachute.
door.
Okay.
That would
I
be
think-
a great project, like for a school or something, for them to somehow color it,
That would be
Well,
fun to
this-
play with circle singing somehow.
dye
You
and.
have it on the floor and like if there's different colors and then like, I don't know.
Well, this one over here is working on, see, I'm pointing at her.
Jay, you gonna tell them about Mother Earth Project?
Yeah, so there's an international project called the Mother Earth Project.org. And basically it's making 12-foot parachutes, which I think are smaller than the ones we had.
Uh-huh.
And then painting them, with, environmental messages, climate justice messages, etc. And then you send them to them and they put them up on the website, or you just keep them. And so this particular one we'll be going with BJ, and she's going to Philadelphia. She's going to some march later on this month with all the kids, and they're gonna take the parachute with them. So we're gonna be painting a parachute, on Saturday. So I hope you'll come and join in the fun.
I will be there.
Awesome.
I can't wait to see the final parachute, the finished parachute.
Yes.
And then I'm thinking, I keep thinking I wanna get May Day going again, cause I used to love going around the May Day pole. Should be the May
Oh,
pole.
that's cool, yeah.
But maybe instead of that, maybe we need to get one of those big parachutes and get out there on Market Square
Mhm.
and get everybody.
That would be
You know what I mean,
so
Sean?
That would be
cool.
fun, that would be fun.
Okay. I'm game. All right, any parting words? What else is anything else happening coming up?
Oh, I
Yeah.
wanted to let you all know there's a course on the Cadenza, on the, however you say it, website. And it's like the basics of teaching artistry. It's like an introductory level course. And there's a big discount on it. So it's like originally $390, but it's discounted at $95 now. So I just went ahead and paid for it for myself because teaching artistry is new to me. So I thought I would benefit from it. But I was gonna say, I just started it, so I can't really tell you much about it yet, but it's structured like the other free course. And they you get to, like, if you pay for it, I'll put the link in the chat. If you pay for it, you get to design a project and then you actually get feedback from the instructor and from other people in the class. And then you get a certificate that you passed this, that you did this class. So I don't know. I thought,
Yeah.
well, that sounds like a good deal. So
And that the other one, the teaching artistry for social impact, kind of we talked about, who wants to do it. I started doing it. Did you start doing
I
it?
can't until after
It's-
15.
I know, so.
I started
everything's
it
been
too.
Yeah, everything's been so busy. It might be that the other one, the earlier one, is a better fit. At that $95 rate, I'd be happy, or we'd be happy. It's not my money. I should say, we'd be happy to pay for that as professional development for you. Yeah,
Okay.
I can't say I can pay for it because I don't have that in my pocket, but Ben, Ben's on the Arts Commission and so is Charlene. They have money and we can, and we can do that for you for professional development. So, so Joy, send me that, you can use that invoice system. You know all about it and you can invoice me for that.
Okay, cool. Yay.
And then.
Darn,
keep
I
letting-
should have said it was $390. I mean,
I was
it
gonna
was
thank you for saving us
$390.
money.
Hmm.
Oh, look, trying to rake me over the coals. Turn me upside down and shake change out of poor Ben's pockets. All right, anything else coming up? All right, well, everybody have a great night. Thanks for being here.
Right.
All right, bye.
Bye, good night.
Bye. Oh, see, there were two chats. That must be Joy. Yeah. Okay.
When, that's a good question. Hopefully July, but yeah, I'm not